Today, we're going to talk about how to analyze a rental property and why I think one of the most common used tools is kind of stupid. Coming out in the next couple of weeks on Thursdays at 3:30, I will be posting videos about how to house hack and live for free, what the numbers were like on that 4-unit building when I was living in it versus renting it all out. But before I share all that information, I figured I should let you know how to run the analysis on a rental property anyways, so that's what we're doing today. For people new to the channel, which are probably everyone, my name is Jake, and I'm a 30-something living in Summer, USA with my wife and our dogs Archie and Harper. I'm a full-time worker, a part-time personal finance dabbler, a travel enthusiast, and this is us. To run the numbers, which I think is great because especially in today's climate, I think having a rental property can be a real life changer. Buying your first rental property shouldn't be scary, but should be something that you take seriously.
Why so serious?
You'll obviously want great returns, and I hope a video like this can give you the confidence to not get stuck in what is so perfectly called analysis paralysis, where you get stuck in your spreadsheet, not really taking any action. So as you watch this video, if things don't make sense, then leave a comment and I will try to answer those. And if you find this video helpful, then tap the like button. It just lets YouTube know that people like the content so it can get shared with more people, which is a huge help for me.
People helping people is powerful stuff.
Having a rental property can benefit you in at least 4 ways, with things like cash flow, appreciation, principal pay down, and tax benefits. Tax benefits would be things like depreciating the asset or writing off expenses. Principal pay down means the loan is being paid off over time, but both of those happen just by owning the property, if your tenant's paying, of course, which is why we're gonna focus on cash flow and appreciation. The appreciation is a fancy way of saying how much the house goes up in value over time. Cash flow is a fancy way of saying how much money you have left after you paid all of your expenses. The income you're bringing in is most likely just your rent, but some places have storage units or laundry mats. Now, if you're wondering how much to charge for rent, we can transition over to the computer and I can show you that quickly. To get a good idea of what rents are in a certain area, you can use something called Rentometer. It will give you some free uses before charging a membership fee. You can also look at different websites like Zillow to better understand what competitive rents are in the area. You can look to see how many rooms, the square footage, or the kinds of finishes that are in other units as compared to yours. Now, if you do your own research and still don't feel good about this, you can talk to a property manager or a real estate agent in the area, but you do want to have a good relationship with them, because if you're just some random person, they may not want to help you. Depending on the market, it may also come down to basic economics and supply and demand. If you have a lot of people that want your units, you may be able to charge more. And if no one wants your unit, you may have to charge less. This is also true that if you're getting a lot of requests, you may be underpriced, and if no one's reaching out, you may be overpriced.
Ring.
When it comes to expenses, you'll need to factor in all of the expenses, not just the mortgage. This will be things like insurance, taxes, interest, which is commonly lumped together and known as PITI, which stands for principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. You'll have to think about who's going to pay the utilities or the water. If you have a single family house, you're probably not going to, but when I had my 4-unit, I did pay the water bill. You'll have to know whether you're going to hire a property manager, a landscaper, snow removal, whether your house is in a homeowners association. You should also save reserves for vacancy, repairs, and capital expenditures, which is also known as CapEx, which is your big ticket items like your AC unit, your water heater, your roof. We did briefly talk about how to find rents, but I'm going to use fake numbers in this example. Let's say you bring in $1,500 a month and there's no other source of income on the property, like a laundromat or an Airbnb unit. The PITI, or the principal, insurance, taxes, and the interest, is $900. I'm gonna lump all of those together because that's typically how it's paid. The experts usually give percentages on how much you should save, but I think ultimately it comes down to what you're the most comfortable with. When it comes to vacancies, you'll want to save 10%, which is $150. With repairs, you'll save 8%, which is $120. When it comes to capital expenditures, that's another 10% or $150. You shouldn't pay utilities, but you might. You have to think about whether you're gonna hire a property manager, and for me, they've cost $75, or because I have multiple units, it's $50 per unit, but some of them take a percentage of the total rent. You may be in an area which has an HOA, and so you'd add that in, or snow removal or landscaping. But with this property, we're gonna say that we have none of that. So if you add that all up, you have $1,500 of income, and your total expenses are $1,395, which means you have $105 of that almighty cash flow. That is it. Extremely easy to be able to do, but now you need to be able to understand whether it's a good deal or not. People often like to talk about the cash on cash return, which is how much cash you're getting back with how much cash you put in. So let's say you put down $20,000, which includes your down payment, your closing costs, and any repairs you needed, which isn't normal, by the way. I mean, that's really low. You then have $1,260 of cash flow, which I just took the 105 times 12 to get that number. You can then take 1,260 divided by 20,000 to figure out you got 6.3% cash on cash a return. People then like to compare that to the stock market, which averages between 8 to 10%, to try to figure out whether that's a good deal or not. But I think that is kind of dumb, and it's something you can't count on as a projection, and it's better in theory, or it's nice to look back when you have your actual numbers. So let's say that I buy a house and I put away $150 for CapEx or those big ticket items, and I have an AC unit that goes out. That may cost me $6,000, and if I take that $6,000 divided by what I'm saving for CapEx, which is $150, that may take me 40 months or 3.5 years to save up that money. So that money either has to come out of your reserves or from your cash flow. Yes, you should be evaluating this when you do your inspections or when you're buying your property, but from my experience, even if I know what's coming, I always have a big expense, which is right around the corner. For me, that cash flow ends up going into repairs or improvements of my properties, and I don't actually live on it. I've heard of people who have, which sounds amazing, but that's not been my experience so far. Maybe they fully rehab the units on the front end, or maybe they're in better properties. They're probably in better properties. And this is why I also like to consider things like appreciation, the principal pay down, the tax consequences, because in normal years, your house may appreciate 2 to 3%. Now in current times, homes were going up 20%, and 20% of $100,000 is $20,000, which adds up pretty quickly. And that's just math. That's not rocket science. And that's just on the appreciation, and that's not on the principal pay down. But when you're starting to get 20% appreciation, I mean, that's when things start getting fun. This is why I like to focus on the total return on investment, or the ROI. This gives you a better picture of the investment as a whole because it looks at equity gained, home appreciation, and tax consequences. Let's say you don't have any tax advantages, which you usually do. Your home may appreciated 3% or $3,000 for every $100,000 your home cost. You're also gaining $2,400 of equity because of your $900 monthly mortgage payment. $200 goes towards the principal, and 200 times 12 is $2,400 of principal pay down. Your total return, including cash flow, maybe closer to 33%. And the way that I got to that number, which is adding up the cash flow, the appreciation, the principal pay down, and then dividing that by the cash you put in. There can be a lot more that goes into that number, but that was just a quick overview. That was only year one, and it's hard to predict on what's going to happen later on. Sometimes houses appreciate more, sometimes they appreciate less, but rents typically go up. So if you want to see a video about a property that I own, which brought in almost $1,000 after expenses, subscribe because I'll be coming out with that in the next couple of weeks, or if this is in the future, I will link that up above. Hopefully you found this video helpful, and if you have any questions, then leave a comment and I will try to answer those. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope you guys have a better idea on how to run the numbers of a rental property. And if you found this video helpful, then consider sharing this with somebody else. But I will see you guys next time.